Shalom Israel. Before I start, I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushai, Waharakah Kadash, double honors to the elders and apostles in Israel who rule and teach well, the Akims and Iwas and Biwas and those pushing videos in truth and sincerity, to the brothers and sisters in the truth. Now, I want to play a video, and you got these pastors out there who want to tell you who Edom isn't, but they won't tell you who Edom is. Now, this video I came across on an elder's channel. He was doing a video on this, and I thought I'll go over it myself. So I'm going to play some of this and just touch some scriptures alongside it. Now, it says here, Apostle Gino Jennings, don't judge people by skin color. White people are not Edomites. So, like I said, they'll tell you who Edom isn't, but they won't tell you who Edom is. So I'm going to play some of this video and just go through some scriptures as well.
Have a seat, sister. Read that again.
For before that certain came from James,
All right, hold it. Before certain came from James,
he did eat with the Gentiles.
Peter was eating with the Gentiles. What else?
But when they were come,
Well, who?
when they were come,
Come on over here. What happened?
he withdrew and separated himself.
He separated himself,
Fearing
fearing them,
which were of the circumcision.
scared of you, worried about what y'all gonna think of it.
That's right.
You know, because I was eating with some white brothers and sisters that don't worry about what y'all think.
Now, that's his first error. Now, when it was talking about the Gentiles, it was talking about Israelites who grew up as Gentiles, believing they were Gentiles, not knowing that they were Israelites. These are things that they don't teach. These are things that they ignore. Now, this same pastor here, Jennings, he uses the Apocrypha. So, for someone that uses the Apocrypha, he should know the history when you go back into First Maccabees. But this is Galatians chapter 3. Because a lot of people teach that the Galatians were non-Israelite. So this is what Paul is saying to these so-called non-Israelites, these Gentiles. This is Galatians 3:13. It says, Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law, being made a curse for us, for it is written, curses everyone that hangeth on a tree. So it says, Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law. Now, what people is under the curse of the law? Because, you know, he's telling these Gentiles, as people claim, who are meant to be non-Israelite, that Christ has redeemed them from the curse of the law. Let's see who was under the curse of the law, if non-Israelites were under the curse of the law. This is what these pastors do, you know. They'll be quick to tell you who Esau isn't, but they're not telling you who Esau is. Now, this is Daniel 9:11. Yea, all Israel, have transgressed thy law, even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us. Who's the us? All Israel. And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, the servant of the Most High, because we have sinned against him. So when we go back to Galatians chapter 3:13, and it says, Christ has redeemed us from the curse of the law. The Israelites were under the curse of the law. So why is Paul telling these so-called non-Israelites that Christ has redeemed them from the curse of the law? And when we jump down to verse 23, it says, before faith came, before Christ came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Now, who was kept under the law? The Israelites were under the law. That's who these Gentiles are in the New Testament. They were Israelites who didn't know they were Israelites, and some of them actually knew they were Israelite but chose to take up the customs of these other nations. So that's an error in this pastor's teaching. And this is someone that uses the Apocrypha.
That's right.
But here the scriptures teach that Jesus died to make one new man. Do you understand? So you black preachers who separate yourself to cater to your own kind as if salvation is just too black. You blind Hebrew Israelites.
And that's what you wanted to touch, really. So it said, as if salvation is just catered to blacks. Well, one, we don't teach that all the tribes are so-called Negroid in, black in color. Yeah. When you read the prophecies, it says that we'll be scattered amongst all nations. So some of our people will be looking like the other nations, but for the most part, we are a people of color. Now, salvation, you mentioned salvation. These pastors don't really accept the scriptures. We're going to go to the man himself, Yahushua, and see what he has to say. This is Matthew 15:24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Now, who sent Christ? Yeah, he was sent by the Father. So he's saying, I am not sent, sent by the Father, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Acts 5. Let's see what Paul has to say. Actually, what I'll do, it's another scripture that the pastors like to use, but they never really give it a full context. This is Acts chapter 2, verse 21. And it shall come to pass that whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved. So they'll stop there. So yeah, you see, it says whosoever shall call on the name of the Lord, anyone. Yeah, but then it goes on, ye men of Israel, hear these words. And what he's quoting is Joel chapter 2, verse 32. You go and read Joel chapter 2, 32. Yeah, you'll see that Paul is repeating what he said in Joel. Yeah, so salvation is for Israel, regardless of how they look today. Yeah, like I said, we were scattered throughout all nations, and some of our people today will be looking like the other nations. Now, let me forward this video, because obviously it's trying to disrepute what we teach. Yeah, it's trying to disregard, I should say, or dispute, not disrepute, Salakia. It's trying to dispute what we teach.
Now, they say that these are Edomites.
And the scripture shows that they are Edomites. Now, just in the same breath where not all Israelite will be looking so-called Negroid, so-called black, not all Edomites will be looking so-called white. Yeah, and that's due to mixing. Just like how, there's a video I did about the speckled bird, where you saw this guy called Francis Barber, a black guy, so-called black guy. And then about 5-6 generations down, where his sons, because you are the seed of your father, kept sleeping with so-called white women, his sons 6 generations down now look like a so-called white man. But at the end of the day, he's an Israelite. That's just how it is. And it works in the reverse.
They say these are the children of Esau. And they say only people of color are the people of God.
And that's incorrect.
Well, wait a minute.
The Israelites are the people of God only.
Brother Whittick, who I call the dean, is a black man. But he's what they call an albino. So if skin color makes you the child of God or not, then that would mean he's the children of Esau.
And this is what they try to do as well, try to make it out like we teach that it's all based on skin color, which is incorrect.
But he's not. Now, here's the wisdom of God. The Nation of Islam said that there's a big-head scientist named Yakub.
Now I'm just going to forward this bit here, because he talks about what the Nation of Islam teaches. Yeah.
And he first got a black man an abstract in light, then light. Have we not all one Father? Give chapter and verse, William, in the book of Malachi, chapter 2, and at verse 10. Malachi, chapter 2, and verse 10 says, have we not all? How much? All. How much? All. All you in front, stand up. Have we not what? Have we not all one Father? We all got one Father.
Now, what he's doing here is the same thing as what they always do with Acts 2 and 21. So like it is, give me a second. Yeah, as I was saying, what he's doing here is the same thing what they normally do with Acts 2:21. You know, just say, you servants shall call on the name of the Lord shall be saved, and stop there. But we're going to read what he's talking about. Because he's saying, have we not all got one Father? Yes, the Most High made everyone, but he's only the Father to one people. Now, this is Malachi, the chapter that he was reading, chapter 2, verse 1. And now, O ye priests, this commandment is for you. So we're talking to the priests. Now, what nation are these priests in? Yeah, the priests are in the nation of Israel. And this is verse 7. For the priest's lips shall keep knowledge, and they shall seek the Lord at his mouth. For he is the messenger of the Lord of hosts. But ye are departed out of the way. Ye have caused many to stumble at the law. Ye have corrupted the covenant of Levi. The Levites are of the children of Israel. So these are the priests being spoken to, saith the Lord of hosts. Therefore have I also made you contemptible and base before all people, according as ye have not kept my ways, but have been partial in the law. And this is verse 10 that he read. Have we not all one Father? Who's he speaking about? The Israelites. We weren't speaking about all nations. Has not the Most High created us? Why do we deal treacherously every man against his brother by profaning the covenant of our fathers? So it was being spoken to. Because when I play on, you're going to see that he doesn't read on in the verse. He just stops. Have we not all one Father? Yeah. Now, this is, let me play on before I come here.
Now let me get wrong. These are not crackers. That's right. And these are not a bunch of niggas. That's right. We are one people. Made by one God.
So let's go back to the scriptures. We just read Malachi to show that where it said, have we not all one Father? Because like I said, he didn't read on. It's talking about the Israelites. Now this is second Esdras, because he said we are one people. Now second Esdras chapter 6 verse 54. And after these Adam also, who thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all. So like I said, you know, the Most High made us all, and we will come from Adam. And the people also whom thou hast chosen. So even though we all come from Adam, the scriptures is making a separation between those who come from Adam and God's chosen people. Yeah. Now, this is Exodus, because he's talking about we have all one Father. This is Exodus chapter 4, verse 22. And thou shalt say unto Pharaoh, Thus saith the Lord, Israel is my son, even my firstborn. So this is why it's saying we have all one father. Yeah, our father is Yahweh. Yeah, the power of heaven and earth, the God of heaven and earth. Yes, like I said, he created everyone, but he only chose one people. Now watch this. This is Deuteronomy, and we are not all the same. Actually, let me read this first before I go to that. This is Deuteronomy 32 and 8. When the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam. Yeah. So he said we are all one people. No, the Most High separated us. He said he separated the sons of Adam. And as I read in 2nd Esdras 6:54, we all come from Adam, but the Most High separated us. So Deuteronomy 32 and 8, when the Most High divided to the nation their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So he separated us. And what did he do? So Deuteronomy chapter 26. Now I'm going to read verse 18 and 19. It says, and the Lord has avouched thee this day to be his peculiar people. You don't hear him talking like that about none of the other nations, as he has promised thee, and that thou shouldest keep all his commandments, and to make thee high above all nations which he has made. Let me repeat that. And to make thee high above all nations which he has made, in praise and in name and in honor, and that thou mayest be an holy people unto the Lord's high power, as he has spoken. So, like how this guy is saying we are all one people, the Most High separated us. Let me continue.
Talk to me.
Actually, yeah, that's it. That's all I wanted. So, like he's saying, white people are not Edomites. Now, we'll go back to Genesis chapter 25, verse, and I'll start at 24. So this is Rebecca. You know, she's about to have twins. It says, and when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red all over like an airy garment, and they called his name Esau. So this first child who came out red, yeah, his name was called Esau. Now, who today, when they're born, come out red? Because just like we can identify who we are through the scriptures, through prophecies, and through description in the scriptures, it's the same way with Esau. We can identify who Esau is. It says, verse 27, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field. Now, what people likes to hunt? What people go out, kill an animal just so that they can put the head on the wall and say, I did it. Yeah. There's only one nation that likes to do that, and that's who we call the Caucasian race today. These are the Edomites of the Bible. It says, and the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. Now, this is Obadiah chapter 1 and 1. It says, the vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord power concerning Edom. So this vision is about Edom, the Edomites. Verse 3, it says, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee. Yeah, Esau is a prideful people. Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock. Now, who dwells in the clefts of the rock? Now, this is the term Caucasian. It says white skinned of European origin, relating to the Caucasus. And jump down, it says a white person, a person of European origin, a person from the Caucasus. So when we come here now, look at this. This is images of the Caucasus Mountains, yeah, in the clefts of the rocks. Now, say about 4 or 5 years back now, when you typed in the Caucasus Mountains, you used to get loads of images like this. And when you look at Mount Seir, give us a second. Look at Mount Seir. Actually, I use this tab here. Look at Mount Seir. you see that it's similar to Caucasus Mountains. You know, this is where the Edomites dwell, in the clefts of the rocks. And when you look at Caucasus Mountains, in the clefts of the rocks. But now they're not giving you so much images of these, yeah, in the clefts of the rocks. Let me go back to this one here. If you look at this architecture, similar to the Roman and the Greeks and today, they're showing you that so-called Caucasian people are the biblical Edomites. So it says, the pride of thine heart, Obadiah 1 and 3, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high. And that's another thing they like to do. They like to build high. The Bible says you shouldn't really build more than 2 to 3 stories. Now, if they'd stuck to that, places like the Grenfell, you know, which is a tower block around 21 floors, I believe, so many people wouldn't have died because he would have been able to rescue them. Yeah, so the Most High knew what he was doing. You know, why would you build something so high that in an emergency you can't even rescue the people? Yeah. So it says, thou that dwell, Slakia, verse 3, the pride of thine heart has deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rocks. Caucasians, yeah, dwelt in the clefts of the rocks in the Caucasus Mountains in Russia, Georgia, whose habitation is high. They like to build high. That saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And that's that pride. So thou exalt thyself as the eagle. Now, when you look in history, the Greeks, the Romans, the Germans, I believe the Spaniards, and even America today, their emblem is the eagle. Yeah, and what do they have in common? They're all Caucasian. They're all so-called white people. It says, though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and this is just giving you clues as to who these people are. And though thou set thy nest amongst the stars, though they have space stations, what we call space stations, and where are those? Up amongst the stars. Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So when we go through the scriptures, there's clues throughout the scriptures to identify who Edom is, just like there's clues in the scriptures to identify who the Israelites are. This is why we know that we're the Israelites, and this is how we know that the so-called white man is the biblical Edomites. So like I said, these pastors, they're quick to tell you you ain't the Edomites, but they never tell you you are the Edomites. So with that, I'm going to close out and give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Waharaka Kadash, Kwame Allah.